I saw summer 17.
That might be the one we're in.
Yeah,
So the Franklin, same project, it
Yes.
hits the town of Franklin also.
Fiber optic, finally.
Well, folks, it's about time, so if you will call the meeting to order and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, if you would please.
Let us pray.
Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon this wonderful country and this beautiful township of Walton. And now we ask that you will send upon those who hold office in the town of Walton the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you. We have two sets of minutes to approve for tonight. I believe we've all received a copy of the July 10th, and I'll entertain a motion to approve that as published.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? In addition, we had a special board meeting on the July 25th. That was basically we worked on approving bids and also to approve the Lions Club use of Veterans Plaza this last weekend. So I'd also entertain a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting as well.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, Mr. Miller.
Thank you very much. President, Chairman, and the Board of Directors for Town of Walton. Our project is, well, first I'll introduce Ken Prestige, our Operations Manager from Delhi Telephone. My name's Jason Miller, I'm the General Manager of Delhi Telephone. I'm trying to find a spot where you guys can all kind of see me. I apologize, I'm behind you guys.
That's fine.
The overall project I'm here to talk about is the New York Broadband Program. And it started in roughly 2013, 2012, with the Connect New York program, which was $25 million a year from the state government to approve broadband in New York State. $25 million really was a small amount per year to get broadband off the ground. In 2015, they went to $500 million. That was from the bank bailout program, and they used that to build broadband. To date, they've done 2 phases. Hey there, how are you? They've done 2 phases, and they've awarded a little over $250 million in projects. Delhi Telephone and DTC Cable have received the round 1 and round 2 in funding. And to date, we received the last Connect New York grant program they had in 2014. So we have actually 3 different rounds that we've received projects in, with a total of 4 different broadband projects, totaling about $16 million in projects. What we're looking to do is, when we started this, we had 350 route miles in the village and town of Delhi, Hamden, Meredith, Bavina, and Courtright. And we covered about 150 to 200 miles of that with fiber optic cable. After all of the projects that we have now, we'll go from Hobart to Bainbridge Afton area to Oneonta, and all the way across the northern part of Delaware County, and we'll have over 800 miles of fiber optic cable, and everything that we touch will be fiber optic cable. So a big thing is, what is fiber optic cable compared to DSL, compared to cable, compared to all the different technologies out there? What we're doing is we're looking to future-proof the entire area. So once we put fiber optic in the air, the single strand of glass, which is about the width of a human hair, we put a cable up and we put a fiber into every home that we pass. So we start with like a 288 fibers in a cable, And then as we go down side roads and side streets, we splinter off 24 fibers down this road, 48 down this road. And every single home that we pass, we put a direct fiber optic cable to your home. So it's not a shared connection, it's not over copper, it's a fiber optic cable directly to your house. National averages, when you connect fiber to a home, it raises the home average price by $6,000 on national average. With that, the future-proofing side of it is the only limitation is the electronics on it. So right now, our lowest intro package is 75 meg. And we can go up to residentially right now, we're quoting 250 meg to 1 gig. But the glass is really unlimited. We send 10 gig over a piece of glass, a single piece of glass. So homes in the town of Walton would have access to 1 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig as the future dictates, as the appetite for internet continues to grow. The New York broadband office classifies unserved as not having 25 meg to your home. Underserved is anything between 25 meg and 100 meg. The town of Walton, I handed out the maps earlier. The blue area is where we received grant funds. All of those areas were unserved. So all of those roads and those census blocks did not have access to 25 meg of internet download speed at those homes. The reason it's kind of a funky map and why didn't we do the whole town of Walton is only certain census blocks were available, and that's as reported on to the FCC. Every internet provider has to report what they can provide to each home that they pass. So between Frontier, Time Warner, Delhi Telephone, anybody that passed any of these homes, and Frontier is the incumbent carrier in the area that has to provide telephone service. With their DSL service, they have to report their speeds, and in all of these census blocks, they reported that they could not do 25 meg. That's why they were eligible for grant funds. In this is phase 2 that this grant was part of. We passed almost 350 homes and a little over 25 miles of build. Again, that'll be 100% fiber, direct connection to every home. New York State has as part of the grant, there is a requirement to offer at least 25 meg for less than $60 a month for 5 years. So that is a locked-in price. Currently, we're offering 75 meg for $60, so we're a little bit above that, and as people's appetite grows, we try to stay in front of that. We started with 10 meg, and then I think we went to 15, and then 20, and then we made a large jump to 75 with what we offer. Believe it or not, the biggest driver of our traffic for internet is 8 o'clock at night. It's not businesses that are driving our internet. It's 8 o'clock at night with over about 40% of our traffic is Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, people streaming video is about 40% of our traffic at 8 o'clock at night. So it's an amazing driver for entertainment, education, healthcare, work from home. We did partner as part of this with the Delaware County Broadband Initiative, which is Delhi Telephone, Margaretville Telephone, and Delaware County Electric Cooperative. So a big piece of this is trying to cover co-op members also in our partnership with the electric co-op. Their goal as part of this is to have non-residents, or I should say second homeowners of in the town of Walton stay longer and spend money, more money in the economy. Instead of coming up for Saturday and Sunday, stay Friday through Monday, work from here, and have access to their home with smart devices or whatever they, want to stay more connected to their home up here. What am I leaving out on this?
You pretty well covered it. The only thing is we do have some residents that we've already hooked up that are downstaters, and they are staying here more, and some of them are actually moving here. They're leaving the city, I'll say it that way, and they're actually moving into the communities. And one of them that we see the biggest influx in right now is Courtright. We've connected them over a year ago, and their populace is growing. So it's proof. The proof is out there that this does work and it does draw people.
So I think from the board, the 4 things I wanted to cover tonight is the first is an introduction to the project. These funds are already approved. This is the building. A lot of our survey crews have been out. I know people have seen, they've either had a knock at their door, or they've seen them on the side of the road, surveying NICEAG poles. In the past, NICEAG has not shared their pole data with us, so we had to actually go out and manually collect it with tablets and GPS in the poles and measuring the heights. The DCEC obviously shared all of their pole data with us, so we knew where all their poles were, and they're very quick about turning make-ready around, whether it's tree trimming or adjusting a pole for road clearance issues or safety from, power where we attach. The second thing is the franchise. As part of this, because we do have a fiber optic cable going to every home, we can offer all three services. So we can offer telephone, internet, and cable TV. With that, the cable franchise would be in effect. It's basically, with all franchises, you can't, we can't ask and you guys can't approve anything different from your existing franchise. So we can't ask for better treatment than Time Warner. So what we did is we basically took the Time Warner agreement and put it in our format, and it's all the same stipulations, because I think there's a 1.5% franchise fee, so we copied all that. There's sometimes a difference between towns, but like I say, we follow, if there's an existing one, we follow the one that's in place. That's a 15-year term. The PSC recently went from 10 years to 15 years on a franchise agreement. So standard franchise agreement would be would apply to this one, and we would go for the 15 years. The third thing is a possible easement if there's any, and we're going to be looking with the Village of Walton, with the Town of Walton, but something that if the town has property somewhere in the Village of Walton, we're looking to put a building. We bring in one of the old wireless huts, the 10 by 20 concrete buildings, and that's what we use to terminate our fiber, regenerate the laser. So we put our own HVAC is already self-contained on it, and we put a generator with it. So if the town has a property that they're interested in unloading, or if there's room on a property for an easement, then that's something we would definitely be interested in. And the last thing would be, I will be sending a letter to Charlie, because we are going for phase 3 also, which is some fill-in census blocks that were not available in round 2. So there will be a couple, right where we dip into the Town of Walton, on either side, there will be a few census blocks.
3 or 4? That'd be phase 4?
That'll be,
Or is it 3
DCBI, we've been doing 3 phases, so it's the 4th project that we've done as the group, as the broadband initiative. But New York's official broadband, the new New York broadband program, it's their phase 3.
Okay,
And-
as I understand, you'll be able to give us a bit more detail after the submissions due the 14th of August, is it?
They just extended it on Thursday to August 31st, which is not necessarily a good thing, because it means it'll delay their awarding of this. And we should have, our application should be done this week, but we will send out to local supervisors for letters of support for the projects. And, we certainly can share details of that when the application goes in. All of the broadband projects, this is the hard part of it. The governor would like to see all of the projects done by the end of 2018. And so that's substantially complete is the wording in the grant. So from 2006 to 2014, we built 200 miles of fiber. From now until the end of 2018, in 18 months, we have to build 600 miles of fiber. So with there's 30 employees at Delhi Telephone, so we have construction crews coming in, we have splicers coming in, we have engineers coming in. This is pretty much a mad dash to try to get this, in and done. And what we've been doing with this is we use Syracuse Utilities for all of our construction. We've had a partnership with them for years. They're very meticulous in their work, and if they do any underground or whatever, they go back and make sure that the ground's better than when they put a plow in the ground. And then we have a splicing team. Even though our outside technicians are master splicers, we have brought in a splicing team so that our guys can focus on just doing home installations. So basically, construction crews go through, the splicers go through, and then we send out letters that say, you know, we're ready to install any homes that wanna be installed, and our installers go through. So it's not that this whole project has to be done before anybody gets installed. As we pass with construction and as we get a certain road or leg lit, then we start going through with installations. Nobody has to take the service. It's 100% voluntary, it's an option, it's to make things available, but nobody is required to take any kind of service or anything along those lines.
I think you said there's no data caps on that you offer?
There's no usage caps or data caps, so if you have 75 meg coming to your home, we never throttle it. So I know that other providers, if you're a big user and you start downloading a lot of video, you'll notice it gets progressively slower the farther into the month you go. With ours, it's wide open, it's 75 meg, use as much as you like. There is no metering or throttling of anything. It's wide open, it's yours to use.
And battery backup?
With telephone service, we still do an 8-hour battery backup with up to 24 hours battery backup available. With that, because the battery's there, you'll be able to, all of our equipment will stay lit. So that was a nice thing with copper. You know, if it was a 911 situation or there was a storm and you were out without electricity, your phone would always work. Now with ours, with the fiber, everything, your phone still will work. It has an 8-hour battery on it, but you do have to power your own equipment. A cordless phone's not gonna work with the power out, even though the fiber's lit. So, the electronics on the side of the house, there still will be light coming to your house, but you still have to either plug a phone into a manual jack or provide power to your own equipment. Similar to, like, if people have tablets or laptops or phones that are on a Wi-Fi device and they're on their own battery, for a certain amount of time, your device will still work, you'll still have internet even when you don't have power, as long as your wireless router has power. So if you want to take a hardwire connection into our electronics, the electronics are still working, but if the wireless router doesn't have power, your Wi-Fi will go down. And our electronics on the side of the house, they are smart devices, so they prioritize traffic. So the last thing to lose service on the battery is the telephone. And what'll happen is you'll have internet for 2 to 3 hours, and then it'll shut down the internet to preserve the phone so that you have contact with the outside world in an emergency.
Now, if you have like a generator, it'll do it?
Perfect.
Everything will continue working, you can watch TV. Yeah, everything will continue working. What was the other thing with,
The lithiums are 10 years.
yeah, the 10-year batteries.
It does, that's the prioritizing, the smart device does that.
Yeah. What other questions did you guys have?
What kind of response time do you have?
That's a little different in Delhi Telephone standard of service is we always have somebody on call. So we actually have a outside tech and a central office tech that are on call 24 hours a day. All of our outside techs are required to be able to be in the plant within an hour of receiving a trouble ticket. And so no matter what trouble ticket you submit, whenever it is, we respond usually within an hour or two from the time our techs come in to the time they roll. We roll on everything. So I know other providers in the town of Walton, that's the best way I could say it. I think I'm being videotaped here. So other providers in the town of Walton
You are.
do not have a similar response time. But we've always prided ourselves on service, and every trouble ticket we roll on, unless we can troubleshoot it over the phone or troubleshoot it. But we do have, our trouble line is staffed 24 hours a day, so you'll get a live person when you call. And they'll put in a trouble ticket and our techs will respond to it at the same time.
One of the nicer things with us as well is we're growing. We have 2 technicians that live here in Walton currently. So that's a big plus to us. They can roll from their home.
And that's something with growth that we've had to change a little bit in how we're, we've always been centered out of Delhi. We may have to change some policies where we let guys take vans home.
Or maybe
They
center
have
out of
vans
Delhi
here.
and Walton.
What's that?
Maybe center out of Delhi and Walton.
Yeah, we gave you the
It may
report, you
happen.
come to us.
Yeah, I mean, we may have vans here, we may have vans in Sydney, because we'll have Bainbridge and Afton. We may have people that live in Oneonta, and they work the Courtright, Davenport, Oneonta area.
I apologize if I missed this when I was late. How come there's a little group, just this little bit down here?
That's a product of the census blocks. The census blocks don't always make sense, and anybody that's dealt with them, they try to sometimes follow roads, but they're really, there might be a census block with one person in it, and there might be a census block with 200 people in it. So they're not balanced very well, they're more just road driven. Every time they hit a road, they kind of chop off the census block. So we
It's just
applied
like
for the
the-
census blocks that were available, and, this is just the town of Walton. We are going out into the town of Tompkins, we're in the town of Franklin, town of Hamden, so all of this is, this is just a small snapshot of the larger network we're gonna have, and that's something that our engineers always say, networks don't follow census blocks. So it's, it's kinda tough to follow the census block, but this is what we're required to cover, according to the grants. There may be certain roads that we have to build on our own to connect the network, just to make it work. But this is what we're required to build under the grant.
And you're looking to expand this?
We're always looking to expand. Like I say, the next application.
First of all, do you have any more of those maps?
Yep.
And second, are you saying that we're currently on Frontier?
Okay.
Can a person that's on Frontier change?
We
Yeah.
welcome
Yep, you can keep your telephone number. We will port your telephone number over so you can keep your same number and take whatever services you want. And that's a nice thing with being outside territory in the Delhi regulated telephone territory. In order to have internet, you have to have a telephone line because it's a regulated telephone. Once we expand it out under DTC cable, once we're outside regulated telephone territory, you can take any service you want. If you want just cable TV, if you want just internet, if you want just telephone, you can take any of the 3 a la carte. And there are bundles and everything's on our website.
So would you, I realize you're doing this through a grant process, but do you ever see that you would expand into Walton and some of these other areas too, or?
Again, I'm being videotaped.
That's something for competition wise that you're unable to answer, we'll understand that.
Right,
Our goal is to certainly, the nice thing is this grant put us on the doorstep of the
Right.
village of Walton. And, the future rounds of the grant, we're hoping to fill in more of the town of Walton. The village of Walton, obviously the census blocks already have 2 carriers here.
right.
If we built that would be on our own dollar. But because we're already here, it makes sense for us to build up the village of Walton also.
So I think, this, from a town perspective, it'd be good for us for other, because there's a lot of second homeowners that
In the town.
Yep.
in the town and these other areas that would, plus people that live here now that would like a higher speed and stuff, so.
There are a lot of us that are in a position where we have one provider, and that's it, and
Yep.
it's copper wire, so it's not
Yep.
really particularly speedy.
Well, and that's the problem we ran into in our regulated territory, because we do DSL over copper also. All of our copper will be gone in 18 months, but we still have some. And especially in Bavina, you get 30,000 feet from a cabinet, the copper's 30 years old, so it's degraded, plus the distance to carry that current. People are getting 1 meg, DSL, and it's very frustrating, and then when people come up, like a July 4th weekend or Memorial Day weekend, and everybody jumps on the network, the copper is shared, and it degrades their service even further. It's a dedicated fiber, doesn't matter how many people are on the network, and it doesn't, you have a dedicated fiber to your home, so it's your own individual pipe. The other option is satellite.
Yeah, satellite doesn't work very well.
When you watch two movies and you hit your data cap, you can do it in the first week of the month. and then you're saying, don't do anything but email for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna get charged more.
The areas, I guess what I was trying to ask was the areas that have only one provider, does that qualify, are those areas that'll qualify for grant money in future years?
It's,
There's an option.
it's purely driven by speed. It's not driven by competition.
Uh-huh.
So if they're offering 25 meg to 100 meg, then they'd go in under the unserved. If they can offer 100 meg at that location, then no, those census blocks won't come up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Folks in the audience, do you have any questions?
If you're in the yellow zone, can we switch?
That's currently not being built. No, that's the blue zone.
Imagine there's a house for sale in the blue area.
And that's, Kevin was saying that, he's like, well, right on 206, just like a quarter of a mile.
That's why I was asking for down here. I want you to move over here just a little bit.
Everybody says, well, it's just a mile. It's just, if it's close enough to the end of our build, we can do up to about 2,000 feet with a drop. But, and like I say, some of these areas we're looking to fill in with other rounds of grant money. But yeah, at some point, Ken's analogy is, it starts, rainstorms start someplace and they stop someplace. That's kind of where our network is right now.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, and we'll follow up with the contract you sent, the franchise agreement.
All right, and I know we'll have to get a public hearing scheduled for that. And then just let us know, when I think it's like a 30-day notice or 10-day notice.
Public hearing is 10 days.
Okay.
Yes, we typically schedule them before our next meeting, but if it needs, which is, calendar in here. September
11th.
11th? Okay. We typically, unless the board chose to have an additional meeting or something.
Which that fits with our timeline,
Okay.
fine. There's no need to rush on our account.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Just give you these pass road, give you extra for Rhonda.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I promise I'll only be a few minutes because I know that you've already had one presentation tonight. I know you have probably a bunch of business to do. So, on behalf of Sheriff Mills, I'm Craig Dumont. I'm his undersheriff. I think most of you know me. I'm here tonight just to give you a little update on what's going on with some of the crime and criminal activity that's associated with drug problems that we have going on, not just here in Delaware County, but throughout New York State. We're not unique here in Walton or Delaware County or Masonville or Sydney. This is a problem that's happening everywhere. As you know, there's a lot of other criminal activity that's become associated with some of the problems that we have going on. And what I want to do briefly is just give the town board, as well as anyone in the audience, an opportunity to be informed of some of the different ways we can be contacted in regard to calls for service. There's a number of different ways that we can be reached at the sheriff's office. Of course, there's our main phone number. We have a website. All right, the website address is there on the postcards. You can also Google Delaware County, New York Sheriff, and our website will come up. On that website, there's a confidential tip line. You can click that link, and you can anonymously submit tips on anything that you'd like to submit. Besides that, there's a toll-free number, 1-888-914-91111. And that's on the postcard as well. Same deal, it's confidential. We would prefer people leave their contact information because inevitably when you leave a tip, there's follow-up questions that our investigators would like to talk to people about. But I can personally assure you, and I give you my personal assurance, that if you don't want your name as part of any official investigation, it will not be used. But we definitely would like to ask those follow-up questions when we receive tips. Another way that we can be contacted is through our mobile app. We have a mobile app for those of us that have iPhones or Android devices. I had to break down and actually get one. It's still freaking me out a little bit. I don't like government watching me, but if you search Sheriff Mobile Patrol on there, you can select Delaware County. There's a number of different things that you can do on that app. You can see who's in our jail, what they're in there for, when they come, when they leave. There's a way to submit tips on that app. There's a way that you can sign up for alerts. So if we push out an alert to the community, it could be about anything. It could be about criminal activity, it could be a weather condition, it could be, you know, whatever it may be, a state of emergency, you'll receive those alerts. We also have a Facebook page, so if you like us on Facebook, you'll get all that stuff as well on Facebook. So one of the biggest things that we need is information. It really, really helps us and makes our investigations go a lot quicker. Generally, we can, with public input, we can close investigations rather fast. And so we welcome that input a lot. Some of these investigations, especially drug investigations, are very timely, and they can be very complex in small town or rural settings because everybody knows everybody. And you know, these individuals that have come in and set up shop and actually victimized a portion of our communities, they know exactly what they're doing. They've used the people that are vulnerable to do the dirty work for them, and so they're very difficult to catch. But a lot of times we're just looking for that one last piece of information that it takes. And a lot of times, again, you know, there's maybe 100 people that know that last piece of information. We just don't have it. So, you know, a lot of times I've been to these town board meetings and I've heard people say to me, hey, Craig, I didn't want to bother you with such insignificant, trivial information. Nothing's insignificant, all right? Everyone in this room is a taxpayer. You pay us to do a job, to provide service for you. So call us. That's what we're here for. The phone can ring 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Times and places, comings and goings of different people, all right? License plate numbers, anything that looks odd or suspicious, all right? Listen, I come from the town of Masonville, 4th generation, okay? You know, leave your keys in your car, your doors, and those days are over. Mm-hmm. They're over. If you see something now that looks out of place, it's probably out of place. There's something wrong with it, all right? So do not be afraid to pick up the phone and call or get on the website and submit a tip on the link. It literally can help us solve an investigation. So, and that's our goal, is to make our communities safer and more productive and hopefully more attractive to people that want to move in and contribute. So that's what we're in the business for. So unless there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Please.
Yes, sir.
What are some examples of what you would consider suspicious activity?
Well, if you're in a neighborhood and you happen to notice that one of your neighbors or say a residence on the road receives an inordinate amount of visitors, okay, different times of the day, maybe the same times of the day, you know, but people coming and going at odd hours, or people coming and going, hey, every day between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., this place has like 60 cars visiting. All right, that's the type of stuff we're looking for. And then we're looking for plate numbers. We're looking, if someone knows a name, we're looking for names. We're looking for anything that just really looks suspicious or out of the ordinary. So even if it, you know, you think to yourself, well, maybe this is something, maybe it isn't. Call us and let us know about it. Who knows? You know, if it's nothing, it's nothing. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So we're happy to take that information.
That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? I have a favor.
Sure.
You have a remarkably professional staff. Please let the sheriff know how much we appreciate all of your officers that are there out on the road all the time. You know, folks don't really realize that until, as a volunteer fireman, in the middle of the night, we're called out there, and there's the sheriff's department. Bad weather, good weather, your folks are out there very professional. We're fortunate to have you and your staff there, so
We
please let them
appreciate
know
that
how
very
much.
much, and I'll pass that along. We are, you know, at the sheriff's office, there's a distinctive difference between a sheriff's office and a police department. And I get this opportunity. I'm sworn to an oath at the Sheriff's Association to give this speech whenever I get a chance to do it. So you guys, now you open the door, Mr. Supervisor. There's a huge difference between a sheriff's office and a police department, a sheriff's office and a state police, a sheriff's office and the FBI. Can anyone tell me what that huge difference is? It's the reason why it's called an office and not a department, actually. Okay, the leader of that agency, the leader of the sheriff's office, the difference, excuse me, they're elected. That's it. You know, it's a huge, huge difference. And our founding fathers, when they were setting up the state constitutions, they were smart enough to recognize these things. They were escaping what? You know, the old colonial days of the English rule. And they said, you know what, we want to shut up, when we set up law enforcement here in America, we want to, because the sheriff's been around longer than anyone, all right? We want to set up law enforcement where the chief elected officer of each county is an elected position, all right? Because if there's ever overreach or if there's any improper interference, anything that violates the Constitution of the United States or the state, we want the sheriff to be able to step up and be the people, the representation of the people, all right? Back in England, the counties were called shires, and the keeper of the peace in every shire is called a reeve. And Shire Reeve became sheriff here. That's how that all came about. All right, and really the sheriff is the king of his county. You know, he's the person that's really in charge. If the FBI comes in and they want to launch an investigation, the sheriff can say out if he wants. All right, it's his prerogative. We don't. We all get along. It doesn't matter what color uniforms that we wear. It doesn't matter what shoulder patches we have on our shoulders. We all get along. We all play well with each other. But at the end of the day, all right, there is huge distinct responsibility, and why I brought that up is because normally you'll see a distinctive difference in the way that the officers conduct themselves with their business. All right, when you're working for an elected officer, all right, that elected officer's career rises and falls on the conduct of his people. All right, so every deputy, every corrections officer, every civilian staff member that comes to work for the office of sheriff, they understand that very clearly. So, and they act accordingly. So, generally, we see much more responsive service, for lack of better words. So, and we take a lot of pride in that, and we're happy to deliver that service. So, yes, I'll pass it along, and we'll go from there.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care now. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Greg, can I give you this?
Tips are, yeah.
That wasn't enough.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, that's weird.
Okay. Now's the time we open up the floor time, so if anybody would like to share anything with us or ask us any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I thought the visioning workshops were astounding. It was quite fun and optimistic and encouraging. Is there going to be any official report posted anywhere that I could share with friends and family?
Steve, you don't have that? Do you want to have that?
Yeah,
I mean, they had mentioned the maps being posted online or something like
Yeah.
that. It would be really nice to have.
we're working at that. We want to get the final drawings, because what they presented on Friday evening wasn't the final set of conceptual drawings. So the next step was to get the final set of conceptual drawings, and then we'll try to get them posted on both the town and village websites.
Okay, great. Look forward to that.
Should be another probably week or two, I would think.
One of the things that they also mentioned was, once they get that together, they'll probably get with the town and the village
Week or two, I would think.
and kind of go over some of the ideas they have so that we can start deciding moving forward. And that's one of the things that we'll touch on a little bit later in the meeting too. Yes, sir.
Before the gentleman with the cable left, the question came to mind is, what is the security as far as a copper wire and an optic, the strength-wise? And I forgot to ask him, can I have a contact number for him, or is there any way to get in touch with
Yeah.
him,
Certainly.
please? Thank you.
Yeah, go after the meeting?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
That is,
I don't know the name.
Jason Moore.
yeah.
Jason Miller, Delhi Telephone Company, but we can get you a phone number and.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, if not, highway report, please.
Back in January, I always get the 284 agreement signed, and any time to modify it. I'd like to modify it with everybody, remember the 284, that's spending the CHIPS money. Well, it seems we've sealed roads using the CHIPS money. We did them for a little bit less money than I anticipated back then, and also, oh, I'm not sure, was it paid New York money or the emergency winter repair money? It wasn't all in that. But anyway, I'd like to do, should let us do a little better than 6.5 more miles of Sealing Road. So I'd like to have everybody actually need to sign this. Probably want to know what roads they're gonna be adding Nichols Road, Bedine Road, McGibbon Hollow Road, McCall Hill Peak, Kellogg, Fitch Hollow, and then the trails, Mohawk Trails, Iroquois Trail, Cayuga, Seneca, and possibly the Fitch Road. They're all not too many more miles, but I actually did go through and redo the dollar amount, the change on the ones from back in January. The ones that we had already done, compared to what, I'll take for instance the very first one, which was 8 Boyce Road. Back in January, I thought it was gonna be 13,250 with my estimate. We actually did it for 8,276. So that's almost 7/10 of a mile, and down through the others, so there was considerably more money. The price of emulsion was stayed steady, and I don't know, must be the time the word was that there was possibly gonna be an increase in it, so I don't know. Just $2 a gallon, which at times has been $2.45, $2.50. But I don't think it was that last year, it was right around the same.
So you're just being able to add all those.
I just would like to add those other roads too.
I'll entertain a motion to accept
that
the
motion.
amended agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll need one
Passed. We'll need-
signature
Do you want just the one, or do you want to have the
then.
one that I redid from back in January?
There's a copy of each of them right here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Are you saying
No,
We have to sign, he's asking if we
you
need
have to sign both of them.
Yeah.
I don't know, because
that? Well, he signed this
Oh,
I can sign.
sorry.
one. Sorry.
Um,
You have to sign
you're
two of
saying-
them?
Yes.
Well, here, sign this one, it's the other one over here, sign.
Okay.
Oh, there's two separate ones, so.
Oh, I don't show
If
that.
you need it for both, I wasn't
Ignore me.
sure.
Have what you got.
I won't kill
You
three.
can't do that.
While we're passing it around for signature, clerk report, please. Actually, Walton, do you have to, I'm getting ahead of myself.
I have more.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can't get off
Of
that.
course you did.
Last month I talked about, I know we talked about it at the highway committee and Rhonda did some numbers, but for a winter basis, it's probably gonna be showing up here to do that, and dig that out and make them. I'm thinking I've got about $45,000 in the budget for that. And I'm asking if there's additional funding of another $45,000 so I can get twice as much done. $45,000 will give us a year's worth and we'll be good, but I still get back to, I'd like to get as much material from on the other side of the lease line over onto that as soon as possible. So I guess I would pose the question next season, but
The budget's, the 45?
that's what I believe I have left in the DA budget.
Right, we went over, the numbers of, what we spent year-to-date, and then what the anticipated expenditures will be. Trying to get out our report. And that we will be taking money out of the, equipment reserve to pay for the equipment that was purchased this year. So that will leave enough funds for him to do the, additional 45,000.
We've been trying to stay ahead of, because that stuff's not gonna go bad, and we have a lease term on that gravel bank too, so we wanna get as much out of there as we can, so.
In case it isn't renewed.
And the advantage is if we have a really bad winter and we need it right there, we're not cut short. So I will entertain a motion to move forward with that proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
So you're saying that we have it in there because we use something else, so we have the money there?
Correct.
It's not, we have to add it to it. All right, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed.
Also, the last round of these he's got, oh, you need mine. Last month, we talked about the stormwater grant. Charlie did sign that, and it has been sent in. When in discussion with CNS companies that did that for us, they're the same company that did that for us 10 years ago. I asked the engineer, John, what the fee would be. His reply was, by the time we made out a proposal and sent it to you, to charge you or to have a fee for doing that, we could fill the application out. So we're just gonna kind of forget about that. Hopefully, if you're successful in the grant, you would hire our firm to go ahead with the rest of it. So it was at no charge, the application. That's kind of the way it went for the last 4 times that we did that over 10 years ago, but I thought that was kind of nice of them. And they seem to, I think they know they've done it before, they're aware of stormwater. He's also a certified floodplain manager, so he has that, and familiar with that. I think that's all I have.
Did you want to address
Plus I forgot something.
our meeting, Monday? Back in,
Oh, okay. I can, or you want it?
I'll start, you
All right.
Last July 12th exactly, President Trump approved a major disaster declaration for New York. And what this does is this allows federal disaster assistance funds to flow to the towns, villages, county to help with the cost of recovery efforts from the severe winter we had, particularly the March 14th and 15th blizzard that was hit Walton and throughout Delaware County. Some of the monies that this can be used to offset the cost of overtime, sand, salt, equipment usage. So Walt and I tagged along with him. We went up last Monday to the county seat to go ahead and get the preliminary work on that. Again, Walt being way ahead, already had the paperwork pretty much filled out, so it's ready to go. And
You know, I went to that, and I got apologize, I kind of forgot about it after that. To me, I guess it's not the first time I've been there. We've been through a lot of those too. And I figured I did get a couple, I don't know when they're gonna come and do that. One thing different though is it looks like this one's gonna be a 90% federal as far as for reimbursement, and 10% to the state, and the state is normally, historically breaks it up, let me back up a little bit. Historically, it's federal 75% and the state 25%, and usually the state will only do the 12.5 and 12.5 local. Sometimes they cover it all. This one appears like it's going to be a 90% and 10%, which would mean 90%, 5% state, 5% local. In other words, we only get 95% of what our actual out-of-pocket expenses were. However, there was some indication that the state might pick up the full 10%, so it might be 100%. In dollars and cents, I've got some preliminary numbers. I added a little bit. I think the benefits that Rhonda ran for it, for the overtime's down just a little bit, but than what I had figured on that. But I'm thinking anywhere from $25,000 to $27,000 was the cost of that 2-day event.
so folks, that's money that we had to spend, it's spent. Now we have a chance for the taxpayers to get reimbursed some money.
And that will go in the same fund that I just asked for the,
45 out.
yeah, we can have it. Correct.
So, Walt, thank you for
Yep.
taking the lead
I
on
did
that.
that snowstorm written down here, but I didn't have the check mark in it.
While we're talking about that, Thursday night I ran into a number of highway superintendents from around the county. And they all spoke about what a competent person Walt is and what a good job he does. So I think their words were, we were very lucky to have him.
That came up in the visionary meetings too. How lucky we were to have you. I agreed, but you know.
Don't tell me, tell my wife. Well, thank you, that's nice to hear that. I get compliments now and then, and I've gotten to the point where if nobody's complaining, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That is true.
Anything else?
Last chance. Okay.
Ma'am?
Okay, everyone should have a copy of my financial reports. We are gearing up to send out the department budget worksheet, so this will kick us off to the budget process. That will prompt the tentative budget to come out in October. So it's gonna be that time of year again. And we have a use of facility application. This is for, it's quite a ways ahead, but the person wanted me to make sure we marked our calendar for August 25th, 2018, for the use of Moore Park. So we will need, no one has a problem with that. This will be a wedding ceremony, no reception or anything like that held there, just the ceremony itself. On Moore Park. She's not sure, so I'm just gonna have to mark the calendar for that.
If I could interrupt you, if you could let whoever the highway superintendent might be at that time. No. What I'm getting at is I talked with Charlie and Kevin too. I don't know if anybody ever goes up to Moore Park, but in the spring of the year, when the frost is coming out of the ground, there's a lot of individuals that seem to like to go up there and do donuts, spin around out on the ball field, I'm thinking the area was. They usually get done with that. Once it gets hard, we roll it, rake it. Been doing this for the last 17, 18 years, it's always like that. Well, this year, they've been back up there because it's so wet, and they actually had a bowl about like this. We've been dumping some ditch dirt up there, but I mean, they're tearing it up. We're up there once a month. We've hydro-seeded it twice this year and used it again. I say that just nobody ever sees it because it's not right downtown, but it's.
Put a camera on that star.
It's quite a mess. We've got the material up there. I gotta get it hydro-seeded and rolled again, but the roller.
It might not be a bad idea to put a camera up there.
We have that, the stars right up there.
I thought about
It's
putting rocks out
going
there
that
and blocking
way.
so people can't get in. I'm not sure if that's what you wanna do, but I had that down too, but I've calmed down since. But it's frustrating to have to take the time to go up there or just leave it. But I mean, it is a park that the township took back in 1950 something, whatever the stone is up there, so.
Well, I think we ought to think about stones or a camera.
I just say like they have around
Turn that over
Austin.
to the committee.
Well, we hate to put stones because we hate to block people from
I don't,
using it.
exactly, you know, and I thought the same thing. But this is the first time, usually in the spring, they get it out there. I guess it's better for them to do it up there than it is downtown or someplace else, but sorry to interrupt, but.
So that would be the committee.
That's you and I, Kevin. Buildings and ground.
So, but for the immediate thing, I'll entertain a motion to approve the use of Moore Park on August 25th, 2018 for the wedding ceremony.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made, do I have a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed? And if the Fields and Infantry Committee will take a look at it and make some suggestions on that, please.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Dutcher, Code Enforcement, and Dog Control, and Floodplain Manager.
Inside.
It's an interesting month in dog control. If you read my report, I'll leave it at that. Not frothing at the mouth yet, so no more pain.
August is always the entertaining month when I get it.
For code enforcement, I actually have a couple of different things. We have individual County Route 3386, or County Route 23, 3386, County Route 23. Decided to put a roof on without a permit, despite the fact that I told him he needed a permit. And I'm at the point now where I'm going to issue a ticket. I just wanted to make the board aware of that, make sure that, you know, everybody's clear where I'm going with that.
It was a whole new roof, or it was a repair, or what?
It was a whole strip and replace.
Probably right around Sealy Wood.
I sent, yes, you know the place.
I gave it away.
I sent the owner a letter and a building permit application, and got the application back with no payment, asked for payment, and was told we're not paying him. So I really don't have a choice at this point. So
This is something that we've traditionally done. We've been doing it for years, so the precedence has clearly been set that there will be a fee when people redo it. Steve, when you inspect a roofing job like that, what type of things do you look for as a code enforcement officer?
First of all, if they say they're stripping it, I make sure that they're stripping it, and then when they put it back together, making sure they're, installing flashing correctly and installing the shingles correctly, because especially if it's a do-it-yourselfer job, you never know what you're gonna get. And just, all of those kinds of things to make sure that, you have a good solid roof that's gonna last the 20 or 30 expected years when they're done, so. There's a number of code-specific things that need to be checked on, but that's.
One of the things that people ask sometimes, and I've had it in my previous job too, is, well, we're already paying a code enforcement officer, why do we need to pay you to do this? And the answer to that is because there's a lot of things that the code enforcement officer is responsible for, some tasked by the community, some by the state, but this allows us to recoup and some of the cost of your salary, some of the expenses that go along with that. So it's those that are gonna be using the service. And, you have a variety of people. We'll just, right now, just talk about roofs. Some people are very handy, they understand a good roofing job and that's a good roofing job. Others may be ignorant about what's good and what's bad, and that's where having the code enforcement officer coming out and checking the work to see, is this being done up to code? Is there a safety issue? Is it done properly? Because the last thing we want is to have a homeowner in the town go ahead and pay somebody to do a roofing job that's done poorly, that had someone competent as our code enforcement officer been able to see and stop and say, no, you're doing this wrong, you need to go back and do it right. So that's why we tack on the expense for your inspections.
There is any questions about that, any issue with me moving forward on that? All right. There is 757 Lower Turtle Brook Road. It's a property that's been an issue for a while. The barn on that property sits right next to the brook. It was actually called out in both the Third Brook Management Plan and the local flood analysis as a structure that really needed to come down and get away from there. Was it last year? I think it was last year. I ended up condemning the trailer that's on the property. The barn has now collapsed. I'd say it's 50% collapsed, and closer to the stream than ever. I thought I was going to have to come here tonight and ask basically the board to authorize me to move forward with actually doing an emergency demolition and getting that down before somebody gets hurt. As luck would have it, I've been in contact with the homeowner. Late this afternoon, I got a phone call from the owner, and she is moving forward in response to my notice of violation. She's moving forward with doing cleanup. She said she had a dumpster up there. Prior to coming to the meeting tonight, I went up and verified that there is in fact a dumpster there and work is being done. So I will keep you appraised of that, but it looks like they're moving forward. She also told me she'd been in contact with somebody to actually finish tearing down the barn. And as I was pulling up there, they were pulling out, apparently they're, assessing the situation to give her an estimate or whatever. So that is moving forward. I'll keep my fingers crossed that she'll take care of it and we don't have to.
Good.
Follow up, kind of go back to the visioning workshop. We had that on my agenda tonight. We've talked about it already. Thank you for bringing it up. I think moving forward, as you can kind of see in the notes there, we've got, as the town, we've got the Breaking Motors property, or will have the Breaking Motors property, River Ridge Trail and the Veterans Plaza. That was kind of all part of that visioning. And I think it would be wise for the board to kind of set a priority. If push comes to shove and we can only get one of those projects in the next round of grant applications, which one is it? I think by virtue of the fact that we're still in the process with Breaking Motors property, that probably is going to make it a second level priority because it'll be a couple of years before that's ready to do anything with, that, as near as I can tell. You know, it's still gotta finish through the purchase process, and the building's gotta come down, and then the reclamation's gotta take place. Once the reclamation takes place, then we can do something with it in terms of developing it as a
Water
park.
Street's probably a couple of years too, yes?
Water Street, even if they don't get started until the spring, yeah, I think that would be, it would be wise to be able to put an application in for that for, you know, the sprucing up end of it. Because the applications, if it holds true next year like it did this year, the applications for that round of funding would have to be in by July 31st of next year. Which means that that's July 31st of 2018, so you're probably looking at spring of 2019 before you can actually get down there and do something. So, and by that time, if that project stays on track, the reclamation will be done or almost done or done enough that we can get in there and get started doing whatever it is.
Water Street is the biggest, most significant project anyway.
Right.
I mean, it has the most effect in the flooding too.
Yep.
You know, so I think that that should be the priority.
So the River Edge Trail would be what you think we should work on, as first
Well,
priority?
the River Edge, I don't know, that, I'm throwing that to you guys. The River Edge Trail, parts of it could probably be done, we gotta ferret out, access from one side of the bridge to the other, and there is, actually, it's probably not well known, but there is a state right-of-way that goes from the bridge up behind Brandau's. That's not all privately owned, so the question is, can we utilize that state right-of-way to complete that trail up at least to, you know, to the edge of East Brook until, you know, the other side is completed. So, you know, that kind of needs to be researched and talk to the right people and find out if that's doable. From the lower side of the bridge down to the Water Street reclamation area, that whole strip of land, there's some state right-of-way there, but then there's, I don't know, a 20 or 30 foot wide strip of land all the way down through there that connects to the town property. It is town property. You know, so there's parts of that maybe could be developed, or does it make sense to hold off on that until all of it can be developed at the same time? You just need to take a look at it. I mean, we've got 11 months, so, you know, but it's something to think about.
One of the things I asked the consultants to prepare for us, because I explained to them, originally I don't think they were aware that the bulk of the Water Street reclamation area is village property. So I asked them to, in county, yeah. So I asked them to go ahead and prepare 3 different blocks of proposals: the Breaking Motors block, the River Edge Trail block, and the Veterans Plaza block. Those are the 3 areas that the town directly has responsibility for, has possession of, so we can move forward on those. As Steve mentioned, Breakies, by the time they dig out the cars and take the building down, it's gonna be a while. Veterans Plaza, we own that right now. So it'd be interesting to see what they come up with, the proposals, and once we see those, that's
So
something
we can move ahead,
yeah. And the River Edge Trail, at least the property that we own along the river, we the town, and I'm fairly confident that the New York State will be amenable to working with us on that. So those are 2 things that I think we could move forward on fairly rapidly. But depending on what they come up with, what the consultant, what he proposes. But
And you said the round of funding, that's a grant that you were filling out, it's Graydon's filling out?
Probably the, if we chose to retain the consultant would move forward with that.
They would fill it, okay.
in our planning board, that's one of the things, the River Edge Trail, that's one of the things that they're looking at putting into the comprehensive plan, so they've already been anticipating that as well.
So I think the next step is we get those final conceptual drawings, take a look at them, and, you know, fine tune from there. Yep, we like this, no, we don't like that, whatever the case may be, but then come up with you know, if push comes to shove, which do we wanna do first? Are we gonna revamp Veterans Park? Do we wanna put all our eggs in the Water Street portion of it? You know, whatever, we just need to figure that out.
So I don't think we really need a decision right now, just to kind of get you all thinking about what you see as priorities. And unfortunately, the results of the study should come in before we're finalizing our budget, so we can anticipate that as well. And, you know, as I took notes, I have lots of action items or things that we can control, some things that we can work with the village on, a lot of them that are just the village, but these are things that we can address here on the town board.
And as far as the actual Water Street project goes, they're at 30%, I think they said the other day, 30% submission, which means that basically the design of the actual cut and fill is essentially done, and they're still working on permitting process. Probably the most difficult part right now is dealing with what to do with the identified contaminants in there. And Graydon is working with the waste management facility to come up with a plan to find out where the stuff can go. And hopefully they can come up with a resolution that doesn't require it being hauled to Rochester, because that would be the most expensive route.
So would we be doing a separate grant from what the village might be doing, or would it be a combined?
It might be a combined grant, it might be a coincidental grant where they're putting in for their portion, we're putting in for our portion. You know, something like, let's say for argument's sake, if you wanted to revamp Veterans Park with their concept or some version thereof, we might put in for that on its own. So.
Well, their vision of Veteran Park didn't have the flag and it didn't have the pavilion. I don't think we're interested in moving either of those things, so I don't think we're gonna do it exactly as they envisioned at that point,
Yeah,
but.
I think we need to see what they come back with
Yeah.
and work with the village on it too.
And I had expressed my concerns that, you know, I've held out all along that the primary function of
Right.
that space is to be a drain for Delaware Street when it gets water on it, and,
I asked that twice at that meeting, they didn't seem to.
I'm not a fan of putting a whole bunch of stuff down there, essentially creating a picket fence, just simply because of, you know, I'm Mr. Negative, I know, but Ogden Street Bridge has not been fixed. It's not going to be fixed for a long time, so there's absolutely nothing that says that that type of flood isn't gonna happen again, and you're not gonna get 3 feet of water coming down Liberty Street, picking up everything in its path and running straight through Veterans Plaza. If it's clear like it is, or relatively clear like it is right now, it's gonna have a whole lot less impact on the village than if you start putting up stuff that the debris can get hung up in and creating a dam down there. So, you'll probably hear me squawk a bunch about that when they come back with more. Keep my floodplain open.
I asked that twice, you should have been proud of me. But once they do Water Street, then that doesn't become so much of a reclamation.
It's still critical. No,
Still, yeah,
that
I mean,
area
still,
is
if you
still-
block that, they can't
Well,
get
yeah.
to Water Street,
Right.
you still have a problem, so.
It's still absolutely critical. And that's not to say that things couldn't be enhanced down there the way they are now. You know, you could throw in another tree or two to provide some shade and stuff like that and pretty it up a little bit, but you just don't want to end up with something that's a blockade to not just the water, but the debris that the water carries.
And if we're basically taking what we're doing on Water Street, for your lesser floods, when it just sort of comes over and a little bit of water comes down, not 4 foot of it, those shouldn't happen anymore. But when you get the 4 or 8 foot, the 100-year, the 500-year event, Water Street, you're not gonna notice the difference of it, and as Steve said, it's like they say, Third Brook will hold a 100-year event as long as there's no debris. Don't tell me when the water is ripping like that, that a tree or a limb or
Is it gonna go in
something
right
is not
there?
gonna go in there. And once you get debris, all bets are off. And the quicker you can get rid of that stuff, and if that stuff will float right on down and get down to the Cannonsville Reservoir, make life a little bit better.
A couple other initiatives in trying to drain water off the street that we're working on with the flood commission is the road between Water Street and Delaware Street that goes through McDonald's. Looking at possibly working with McDonald's and maybe getting grant money to lower that so that, right now it's what, 3 foot, 6 foot difference between Delaware Street and the rise.
Yeah, there's probably a good 6 foot difference if you stand right in front of McDonald's and look towards the river. There's probably, 6 foot elevation gain out back of there, so.
So if we could lower that, that's one of the lower spots in Delaware Street, and that would help as well as Veterans Plaza. And maybe even, and it came up in the visioning discussions, is the road between Veterans Plaza and Family Dollar. Is there something we can do with that? Right now, that's a bit high, for maybe get that to drain into the green space as well, so. Those are some of the initiatives that the community is working on, and we'll see where it goes. Anything else, Steve?
I hope not.
Okay. Then, on to the supervisor's report. We have some of the projects we'd hoped to do with the $50,000 grant we got from Senator Bonasek's office. We did the roof down at Town Sheds and the ceiling of our parking lot out here. We have, I think it's about $3,500 left. Looking at possible uses for that. One of the things that we thought about is maybe something up at Moore Park. But I'm open to any suggestions, and what it is if we come up with the ideas, then we see if they would be willing to.
Something like what are you thinking?
Well, it could be something like picnic tables, a gazebo, or rocks or something. Or another option would be a lawnmower. Now that we have more property, we're responsible for doing Veterans Plaza. Eventually, we're gonna have braking motors. There may be time to use that as a time, see if we can invest in equipment to maintain that.
And before the meeting, I checked, they will not cover picnic tables or benches.
I did take a look at, we discussed the potential of a pavilion up at Moore Park and doing something up there to enhance that. 30 by 40, you're probably looking at, very basic pole barn style pavilion up there. You're probably looking at somewhere between 15 and 20,000 in parts. And that's not something I don't think Kevin and I want to build again.
No. Well, I mean, that is a nice parking space. What I worry about is more of the type of vandalism that we already have, just digging up, because it's like Wally said, nobody goes up there and sees. So there's a lot of potential for people who build a pavilion to go up there and.
Well, and my thinking is that if you had a pavilion sitting right in the middle of that ball field, if they wanted to go do donuts and
They couldn't do it.
they couldn't do it anymore, and chances are pretty good if they wrecked into the pavilion, we could figure out who did it. And then they could pay to replace it.
Well, and camera, it might be something that you can put that in that and look at for up there.
I was thinking cameras, also important for security issue, if they know that the big brother's looking, it should be a,
Deterrent.
yeah, it's a deterrent for that happening. It also enhances security, couples are up there, or, families are out there, and somebody's gonna come and burglarize the place or something.
Milt's doing the mowing down the Veterans Plaza, which is a push mower or?
Push more.
He has a push mower and then he has a little mower. Do we own
He's
that?
got a rider.
Yeah, do we
I
own
thought
that
the
rider?
count, no, I think the
I
count,
don't know.
thought the
I
count
don't,
bought that.
yeah, I don't think we own the rider. I think it's for his mowing things, but we're talking about two different grants. The Moore Park Pavilion, those ideas would be from another grant.
Okay.
The money we have remaining from a current grant is approximately $3,500. They will not purchase picnic tables or benches,
Right.
as I had suggested, so they will, any work to a current facility or equipment, they will allow us to apply that money towards.
Lawnmower would be
equipment.
good. A riding lawnmower would be good.
Get it with a wider, deck that would,
And that's what I was thinking, because if, at some point in time, if braking motors does come in, we have to maintain that maybe we'd get a choose out of it.
Picnic tables, we have, two being donated for Veterans Plaza anyway.
Oh.
We have two there right now, because, well, that's they're the villages, and we have to put them back, that's from the car show thing. But,
are y'all amenable then to the lawnmower then?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's good use.
Okay, I will ask and see if we can approve all that then.
I bought a couple of years ago, got one for mow lawn out front of the shop, the 20 horsepower Simplicity with a 5-foot mower back on it, power steering, hydraulic, hydrostat, and all that. It was $50.
Yeah.
we can run them again.
I'd love to, but just have another one sitting there.
You gotta go to the auction and get one.
Yeah. You gotta
No,
go
we,
for it.
once in a while they come up on the federal surplus.
Yeah, I mean, there's
You don't
mowers,
have that
I
stuff.
see mowers there, but you get what they get. We were fortunate, we got a good deal on
But
it.
you don't have that one anymore.
Yeah, we did.
How come we're not using that?
Oh,
We have to
We
get
have
a new
a-
trailer. It's wider than the trailer.
why don't
Um,
we use trailers, I think.
Right.
It's a 5-foot.
I mean, maybe that's something we should look into too.
Yeah,
I mean, if he could
60.
use that, and only lacks a trailer,
Maybe we ought to buy the
maybe
trailer.
we better off.
Yeah, I think that was it, when he was getting that other lawnmower, that's why he chose the size he got, because he can't get anything bigger on his trailer.
Right, because he's using a DO band,
Right.
so whether that would pull that equipment, I
Well, we
don't
can look
know.
into it and see. Yeah.
So ask him if you.
The only thing
get
is,
a
we've got the
trailer.
hood
Yeah.
off because the heat from the exhaust, it fries, I shouldn't say fries the gas, but it heats it up and gets vapor locked, so we took the hood off, but it works fine.
So, we can
Look into the
pursue
lawnmower again.
either trailer or a mower.
We'll look into both.
Yep.
But
Okay,
I'm thinking the snowmobile trailer ought to be wide after that. But it's got-
okay, moving on then, this is a rather, again, just information. You know, we've been working for quite some time trying to bring Verizon into town on the tower. I received an email today from the company that's working with that. They have a questionnaire that they need us to fill out, so we're making progress on it, but it's an environmental property consultants need some additional information, so that'd be something that we'll be forwarding, so.
So I guess
I
it's
saw
not going out for this
that,
year's
I saw
trailer.
that they had agreed already that they were coming. They were just getting it. Wasn't that the impression?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
but now it's, corporate Verizon is saying, yeah, we're gonna do it, but before we do it, we need to do this environmental impact study or.
Well,
So-
they
It's a
are-
phase one
they're
environmental.
addressing the
It's,
environment. They didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's just a phase one environmental, it's just a paper
And
review
and
of
it's
the
pretty
history of the property.
straightforward. How long have you owned the property? Who was the previous owner? Are there any buildings? So it's pretty straightforward, so. But just wanted to
But
let
I
you all.
guess you're not making it for this year's fair yet.
No.
I don't think so.
Are they bringing the temporary one for the fair this
They
year?
didn't last year. I don't think they are this year.
Okay, we talked at the last month's meeting about the watershed land acquisition program and a town response to the 2017 town level assessments. So I'd like to share with, you've all seen a copy of the letter that we sent, but I'd like to share with folks that might be watching online and the folks that are here tonight. So this letter went to multiple participants in the decision process, let me go. And again, letter was dated July 20th. The town of Walton strongly disagrees with the conclusion reached by New York City Watershed Land Acquisition Program 2017 town level assessments. In particular, we dispute that there is a, quote, relative abundance of developable land, unquote, in the township. The study fails to take into consideration numerous factors that greatly reduce the amount of land that can actually be developed. Factors such as highways, zoning regulations, conservation easements, agricultural easements, New York state land, forestry easements, and special use tracts such as hunting clubs, and topography and parcels that are landlocked significantly reduce the amount of land available for development. Our research shows that less than 6% of the land in the township of Walton is still suitable for development. This severely hampers our ability to ever grow our tax base. With this limited development, with the limited developable land available in Walton, further land acquisition clearly threatens the economic viability of the community. It is for this reason that the town of Walton calls on New York City Environmental Protection and Bureau of Water Supply to place a permanent moratorium on land acquisition program in the town, and recommends that you instead dedicate those funds to flood mitigation initiatives in Walton and throughout the county. And as attachments, we sent some of the research work that the County Planning Development Department had come up with, clearly showing how much land acreage is not developable. And also how much land, for instance, there's almost 2,400 acres up in Bear Spring Mountain, the state land that's not developable. And there's another state that, parcel over 100 acres. And then you've got the hunting clubs in the town. So just want to let the public know that we've taken a stand on that. Okay. One of the things, speaking of New York City land acquisition they've done, they've acquired a lot of land around the township. One of the things we always ask for when we comment on the use of the land is that we can use it for hiking, snowmobiling, camping, things, outdoor activities that have traditionally taken place in Delaware County. As part of that, though, particularly the trails, I've approached a couple organizations in the area that have developed trails and asking guidance for if we wanted to approach, whether it's the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the 4-H clubs, or just general community members that would be interested in building trails. So they've given us some guidance and willing to work with us to kind of point us in the right direction. It's a lengthy process to do this, but the first thing that I'd like the board is not answer tonight, but just start thinking about any of the parcels that you're aware of that might be a good location for a hiking trail, a mountain biking trail, or something like that. So once we have some potential ideas, then we can start the process, approach the city, and see if they would be willing to open that up to us and where we can go with that. So again, just think about, and you got a list of the city property upstairs, so. And the next thing on the agenda is the Green Hornet, otherwise known as our code enforcement vehicle. We've had some bad luck with it. We got a good deal on it. It was a surplus vehicle, but it's proven to be rather unreliable. Steve's been stranded a couple times now with whether it's the vapor lock or whatever.
Maybe if I take the hood off.
The trouble is they can't duplicate that.
Yeah, oh, I know.
I know you've been down there, you know more about it than I do.
Walt and I discussed it at the highway meeting. I know we'll have to start looking for another vehicle, or in the meantime, I know we can't use the van like when you're doing dog control, but maybe some of the other stuff, or perhaps for now, we can switch trucks back around. Either that blue one or
I don't know if I want to go through all that headache. I mean, one option that we have, if we want to kind of reverse roles, the village just got a new Durango for a cruiser. So they're taking one out of service for that. So if we just, like I said, wanted to reverse roles, I mean, I could have an automobile to drive around, and in the meantime, if I needed to drag dogs to Delhi, I can use my personal truck. But you still, in the end, you gotta have a truck for dog control.
Right.
So I mean, so there's things that we can do to finagle around in the meantime.
So in the meantime, yeah, that's an idea we can look at too.
Find one of those $50
I mean, if they're,
You're not gonna find anything but a Green Hornet
Yeah.
at $50.
we don't, I mean, we agree, we don't wanna break him down, that's not too convenient when he's out.
Kinda stinks,
Yeah.
to put it
So-
mildly.
That's being very polite.
No cell phone coverage or so the
Yeah.
place.
I think as far as I know, you've been fortunate to be able to find somebody.
So it's a village, I mean, they would be agreeable to doing that.
I know that I haven't spoken, they probably
Yeah.
would be, I haven't discussed it with them yet, but I mean, if this board is amenable to that, then I can check with them and I don't, the Durango is gonna come online this week or next. I know the radio guy was there today, said he had to be back tomorrow to install all the radios, so it'll be a little bit of time yet, but they're anxious to get that on.
Where are they storing it? I need the radio guy.
He will be either at the village garage or at the PD tomorrow.
Okay. Cause yeah, they've got a couple issues I have that been supposed to fix for me for a little while now, we haven't quite gotten done, so.
And actually, if you wanted to use the white van, wait a day, because the parts finally came for the.
I see it was sitting on the rack
Yeah.
down there today, yeah, so.
Do you have, this is kind of stupid, you have a radio in that truck, right, a town radio?
In the green truck, yeah.
It's got a high band. You
Yeah.
can talk to the village and the PD.
Okay,
And it's always got outlaw, local, and village DPW.
okay.
It's only got a high band.
Yeah.
And that can be opened up, that radio is capable of, I don't know, you probably put the 30 frequencies in.
Yeah, I know, but
whatever
as
you want
long
to
as you
put
can
in.
get somebody other than, you know, I was thinking if you had one of our radios, you could talk to the Brown and tell her where you broke it down to come get you.
Yeah,
No, I mean, he
As
can
long as you
talk,
can get to the
he
sheriff's
should be able to
office,
get to the
that's-
911 center.
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't, there's no objection then,
No.
Steve,
No.
you go ahead and approach the village to see them if they do. Do we have a?
And we'll keep looking for a
agreement with
truck.
them?
I'm thinking to find a four-wheel drive that's not in the 80s vintage through the federal surplus. They're the ones with the X on it that you can get.
Reversible.
And those are actually, they're not seeking, they're more for the auction type. They have it's not 5%, it's a lot more. And to get that, I had explained to me, you gotta go to Philadelphia and sign some paper, and I don't think there's a fee, but you gotta get on the list, and then it's a little bit more involved than that. And you're gonna get a $30,000 truck that's 10 years old for maybe 10 or 15,000. You're not gonna be able to pick them up for $500-600.
Right.
And you're still gonna get what you're gonna get. My thought was if I was gonna spend, in my own opinion at the time, that if you're gonna spend that kind of money on a pickup truck, you might just, we'll go see what kind of deal you can get at Brakey's or at some other place if you wanted to get a used pickup truck, see what you'd probably be right. Or one sitting in somebody's yards. It was not, and I haven't kept that close of an eye on every one that is there.
Well, if he breaks out on the right road, he might find it.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I mean, it happens, we run those things around, but it's,
It was done.
we don't put as many miles on as he does with them. And if you break down, there's somebody else
Right.
around.
So, yes, Steve, if you approach it, at least on a temporary basis, until we can find something for the animal control officer, code enforcement, floodplain manager to use on a permanent basis.
And while you're looking around in code office, look for trucks. And you're right.
Okay,
They'll be selling at the fair, put them to 10.
one of the things that I shared with you in front of you was prepared by our assessor, and it's a comparison of the village and tax rolls for 2016 versus 2017. So if you look at the top line, the 26.6 UPV, that's the, remember last year it was a limited value, it was about a quarter of the true value. And if you look down, we're up to 100% now that we've done the reval. So the total assessed values between the two has gone down 2.92%.
And was that because of overassessments, or?
It's a combination. A part of it is there's new structures found, some taken off the tax roll, so that's why you see the difference And like, for instance, our village went from 3,515 parcels to 3,516. Only one parcel, well, there were some that, as they were going through, fell off the rolls, some that they discovered, so it was a net gain of just one. The difference would probably be the overall values. Again, looking in the village, you know, it's been so long since last time they did a reval, they didn't really take into consideration the flood impact of properties in the village, or to a lesser extent, outside the village. So, as they went through.
Yeah, I see that, most of the decreases in the village properties, taxable values.
And again, this is just what the tax rolls are. It doesn't really impact, it will reflect when the school taxes come out, the town, the village, the county taxes. So that's just kind of a heads up on where we're going, and kind of a feel for what you can start to expect folks asking about. And to follow up on that, with the assessing, ENPM, the company that did our reassessment, we sent them a list of criteria that we expected to have completed before we make our final payment and close out the project. There's still a couple items that they owe us, but we're making good progress on that. The state and county real property offices, we talked about this 2 months ago, what our way ahead is in keeping, do we want to keep 100%, and if so, how do we want to do that? We're going to get together tentatively on the 29th, the assessor and myself and the state and the county, to look at what our options are and make a recommendation to the board as to how to proceed on that. So that's what I have for the supervisor. Wanted to just update a couple things for the county. At last month's meeting, there was a couple questions asked, so I wanted to follow up on that. One of the questions that came was, what about the NICEAG building in terms of the Department of Public Works facility? Why don't they use that? Although it had at one time been available, NICEAG's pulled that off the market, and it turns out that the interior, the way it's set up inside, there's a concrete loading dock in the middle, so even though it looks big, it probably wouldn't have worked all that well for the county. So that's why it's off the market. Another question that was asked was, what about the other sites for the Department of the Office of the Aging and the meal sites? So there's a meal site currently, and this will change when we go to the new facility. The Presbyterian Church on Clinton Street is where they actually serve the meals, although at the current Office of the Aging is where they prepare the meals. In Hancock, First Baptist Church is where they do their Meals on Wheels, and it's a monthly cost of $600. At Grand Gorge, it's the Grand Gorge Civic Center on Route 30, right in Grand Gorge, and that's $275 a month. Margaretville, at the Margaretville Methodist Church on Church Street, pays $700 a month. In Sydney, the senior meals is at the Sydney Civic Center on Liberty Street, and that's $504 a month. And finally, here in Walton, at the Catholic Church, and it's $600 a month for monthly rent. So those are the rents throughout, where they're located throughout the county and what the rent is. So the $230 that we're paying up in Delhi, we'll be doing those meals preparation and serving on site, so that will not be a recurring expense for the county. Yeah.
The $230 what you're paying now.
Yes.
So when they're relocating, it's actually $230.
That's right. That's it. And there'll be no recurring expense for that because it's in there.
Right now, they cook in one place and they have another place to
Right.
serve. Now they're
So they're
gonna
gonna combine it,
combine, yeah.
but they're buying the building.
Right.
Okay. The Department of Public Works facility, are still in the process of trying to find the best optimal location for that. The town of Hamden is going to have a meeting to discuss that. I believe it's tomorrow night. More for the folks, and in particular, their interest is in the Delancey property. So nothing other than that new, there was a public meeting up on Delhi, at the Delaware Academy on the 12th of July. And the folks would like to see the slides that came out from that, they can go to the county website and you can look at both the presentation that the county gave and also the presentation that the contractor that the county hired as a consultant that they gave. So the public's free to go there, so it's a good chance to see exactly what's going on. As they presented it, a lot of folks were coming up and said, well, I didn't know that. So we're just trying to get the information out to folks. The mental health consolidation and relocation, again, where we stand on that is the contractor has been visiting the current facilities, talking to the staff. What are your needs? What do you see as optimizing those? We had a discussion, a meeting here about a year and a half ago. The county came down and presented where we are. Once we get a little farther along in the site selection, we'll be doing the same at, again, a special board meeting or a public hearing for that. Shared services, on the 26th of July, we met up at the county offices. The 19 supervisors, the 10 mayors, chaired by Chairman Millay. Again, a good change, flow of ideas. Some ideas are going to be, we've got a ways to go, but at least we have some ideas that may help, worth further investigation. The next meeting is going to be in December. And Ted, I want to thank you for taking the time, and I'll share this with the rest of the board when I get my notes typed up. Would you like to say a couple words about our discussion, or? I'm putting you on the spot. We sat down, you're welcome to, but I'm putting you on the spot, that's okay.
Well, I don't have very much to comment on other than just give you, why would you be talking to me anyway? It just so happens that I was doing shared services consulting for 15 years. And similar to Charlie, worked for some of the different non-governmental, non-governmental organizations, putting those in. The task that the county has, the hardest part that I see from my experience is the collaboration that's going to be required across the various constituencies. So getting your, 29?
Yeah.
Constituencies to march to a single drum is probably the first major hurdle. Charlie and I talked about different ways to get that to happen. That's part of what I have some experience working across large organizations that have multiple constituents with varying perspectives and objectives. But the low-hanging fruit, Charlie's already got a handle on.
So anyhow, again, typical for Walton, the folks that, we don't know what type of expertise we have in the community, but thank you, Ted, for taking the time, and a lot of good ideas of ways we can move forward, and you're right, it's going to be a challenge, and we've got 19 municipalities, how to come up with the best approach, if there is the best approach. So, that ends my county updates. Committee inputs. In particular, I guess we pretty much need to have some guidelines for folks using the Veterans Plaza. What we expect of them, we already have, the sign-off procedure, but maybe a little bit more in detail.
The electric was left on, I told you that, and did Ed return to you today?
Yes,
He didn't like that.
no, we have to go through.
Which, and we don't, do we have a process, who's checking that, I mean, we talked about it, but have we ever set that up? Who's checking it to make sure that it is okay?
We do not.
So that's part
I
of
know
this
we
guideline.
kind of threw that on Carly to come up with.
I thought that was just for the farmers market.
Yeah, we just do that at farmer's market out there.
Right, we don't have anybody in particular checking on it. I mean, I drove by.
I'd be happy to do that if you want, if you just need somebody to check.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
by and check it.
I was down there for this one and, it was cleaned up and,
Yeah.
everyone left it good.
Right.
And stuff, so it's fine. Like I say, there's still 2 village picnic tables there.
Right.
But I keep my husband and son's truck to get them taken away. And I didn't have them yesterday, so I'll get them moved. but-
Yeah, and I mean, I knew that we were having the meeting tonight and that event was that Saturday, so I drove by just to kind of see if anything was left there or, you know, anything out of order, and it looked fine by me. So I included that reimbursement in here. And that's how we're doing it. If someone makes a deposit, it goes into our account, so there's a paper trail with that. It's not just a check held in, you know, the safe or something. We're
I was
actually
gonna ask you that.
depositing it,
Okay.
holding it, making sure that, you know, if it is a check, the check, you know, clears. And then, should there be damage, then that money is in our accounts. And then, if there's not, then we go through the process, our voucher process, where there's a record, you know, of it coming back out. They don't get it back immediately, you know, they have to wait till the following voucher.
Right. And Ed said, no, they are not picking up the garbage, the village is not picking up the garbage, they have to leave out the town.
The town does not have a reliable truck to do that.
They get a bigger village vehicle.
Yes.
So that probably ought to be in the guidelines too.
That, yeah, it could be something like, you know, what we did for the theater, where we came up with guidelines, those that want to use the Walton Theater, they're responsible for taking the trash.
But this is the garbage cans that are left down there all the time. There has to be something there all the time.
Right, so because there's gonna be garbage whether there's an event or not,
Right,
is what you're saying.
right. So, I mean, this is in the, what is that, 35-gallon waste?
50 gallon.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the
that's,
village picks up all the rest of them, why won't they pick up the one that's in front of the plaza?
There's two there, and, I mean, we could ask them, Rhonda just asked me if they were doing it. I asked Ed when I saw him, and he said, no, he didn't think so, because it was town property, that doesn't mean we can't ask them to do it.
Because they pick up everybody else's all on Delaware Street there.
That's village property, and they're village garbages.
But we can ask them.
We can't ask them if they
All
can
of
do
them will
it,
figure something else out, so.
even if it's on a temporary basis, because
I thought they were picking it up, but.
and maybe they are, and he just didn't realize it too, I don't know.
That's who provided us the cans, the village.
No, Woody made one.
Well, the
No,
other one.
And then the other one is
The
the
other one,
village,
yes.
right, and they were looking for a place for it to go or something.
Well, yeah, I had to have it moved because it was blocking traffic up by,
So then we only made one, but we haven't set for a second one, but
okay.
Okay,
One more thing on the plaza down there, I have all of the parts for the electric, the cables installed and all the rest of the parts. Luke Munyon volunteered his services to go down and finish that up, so as soon as I can collar him and as soon as he is available, I'm thinking, you know, possibly by the end of the week that will be done. I got an outdoor timer for the light, so the light isn't on all of the time. It was ultimately less than what I estimated, which is always good. And about 318, I think you authorized me 400, so we're in good shape there.
So I think Ed said he left the electricity on because it was on when he got there. He had the key, but,
I can try to get down tomorrow,
Okay.
open up
Oh,
flames.
is it still on, is what you're saying? Because I have the key now,
Okay.
so that we can do the electric.
okay,
Oh,
so because it was on when he opened it, he didn't know why, so he left it on
He left
and
it.
told me
Okay.
that he did.
All right, not a problem.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the board before we go into executive session?
Abstracts?
Thank you. Yes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the abstracts as they're printed on the agenda.
So,
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the craft assessment challenge, the update on the former assessor's computer, board assessment review membership, and the assessor and code enforcement floodplain manager contracts.
So then,
Motion made, do I have a second?
second.
Motion made and seconded to go into executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.